Welcome, everyone. Happy New Year. Can't believe it, 2026. Uh, we're so excited that you're here. So, for recording purposes, introduce myself. I'm Jan Jeremias. I'm a health and wellness coach. I've spent over 35 years involved in health in one way or another. And for the past 20, I've blended my clinical research roots with a love for holistic wellness to support both people and their pets in living longer, fuller lives. Oh gosh, I don't know. Is it like 3 years ago, Mary Jane? It's kind of, we'll have to
Yeah, well,
look.
that's what, yeah, we started Spirit Border, started our workshops and stuff probably, yes, at least 3 years ago now.
Gosh, can't believe it. About 3 years ago, Mary Jane and I joined forces, not having really a plan, but getting together, and then things evolve like they do. And we decided that we would join together to talk about self-care and to bring kindness to the world, one person, one breath, one conversation, one creative project at a time. And so a heartfelt thank you to Mary Jane for putting up with me for the last 3 years. And to all of you, a big thank you because this community exists because of all of you. And so, Mary Jane, I'll pass it to you.
Yes, as I know, I'm very tongue-in-cheek in my humor, so yes, it's been such a struggle, Jan. I don't know, but it's always a pleasure to be here with you. Um, that's one thing we were commenting on when we got on. It was like having an opportunity to catch up and having a laugh or two in this space. So we started with laughter, so that's the way we wish to bring that energy into the space. Um, yes, and for the purposes of recording, I am Mary J. McQueen, or MJ, as I'm known in some circles, and I am the owner, graphic designer, creative director, as I say, Jill of all trades for MJ McQueen Creative Studio. My career has spanned in graphic design for more than 30 years in the corporate marketing environment. And for the last 6 years, going into seven, I've now been doing that as an entrepreneur. So I really, in case you hadn't noticed, I really love to have some fun and I enjoy, and it's a blessing to serve in a way with locking arms with my clients, to help them bring their vision to life. And that's could be anywhere from as a small business entrepreneur to creating a brand and logo that really resonates and is authentic to your space, or helping someone celebrate a milestone personal event. That's my studio in a nutshell. My passion, of course, is to co-create these beautiful spaces with many people, but specifically with Jan, and to create really soul-led offerings that help others to reconnect to their inner child and their creativity. And really, my mission and vision, as is Jan, is to spread kindness, empathy, and compassion, starting with self and rippling that out into a world that truly needs it. And so we welcome you to this space. And as always, we are filled with gratitude that you're here and bring your energy here as well, because you are our community and we sincerely appreciate you being here. And happy 2026, everyone. Welcome. And so I will just begin, I guess, Jen, I will
Uh-huh.
begin to share the poem well, actually you located. And it's called The Power of One. It really seemed to speak to the context of today's conversation. And it's by Ashish Ram. And it reads, one song can spark a moment. One flower can wake the dream. One tree can start a forest. One bird can herald spring. One smile begins a friendship. One hand clasp lifts a soul. One star can guide a ship at sea, and one word can frame the goal. One vote can change a nation. One sunbeam lights a room. One candle wipes out darkness, and one life laugh will conquer gloom. One step must start each journey. One word must start each prayer. One hope will raise our spirits. One touch can show you care. One voice can speak with wisdom. One heart can know what's true. One life can make the difference. You see, it's up to you.
Thank you so much, Mary Jane, for sharing our poem today. So we welcome you into this spirit-born imagining space, um, which is an invitation to pause, to slow the pace, to arrive not only here, but within yourself. Spirit-born imaginings exist to create space for mindful awareness, for listening beneath the noise of daily life and reconnecting with the wisdom that lives inside each of us. As we gather, we invite you to gently notice your breath, your body, and whatever is present for you in this moment, without judgment or expectation. This is not a space for striving or fixing. It's a space for imagining what becomes possible when we meet ourselves and one another with curiosity, compassion, and presence. Through shared reflection, mindful conversation, and quiet pauses, we explore what it means to live more fully, more consciously, and more aligned with what matters most. And as we begin this new year, still close to the turning of the light after the winter solstice, may this time together offer grounding, openness, and a sense of gentle possibility. May awareness give rise to hope, and may imagination guide us toward new ways of being, becoming, and belonging. Thank you for bringing your presence into this circle. We are honored to share this space with you. Welcome.
And so we begin, pardon me, I'm losing my voice for some reason. And so we begin this year with just taking a look at really the many things that inspired Jen and I to begin our collaboration together. And and it's aptly named, which is is also part of what our mission and vision is to uplift, inspire, and transform. And we honor you for giving yourself the time and space to be here and be present with us and to hopefully gain some of those valuable tools and insights that will guide you into the new year and to give us also the inspiration as we go into the new year. So thank you. And what a beautiful reflection, Jan, that was about why why we exist as we do here in this space. It's definitely was summed it up very, very well for sure.
Oh, thank you, Mary Jane. So maybe we'll begin by talking about pausing, something I think that um, we're not used to doing very often. When we think about it, I don't know that we really even think about how much we move. I mean, do we actually sit down to eat? How often do we do things like eat in the car because we don't take the time? Between meetings, snacking, scheduling every moment or as many moments in a day that are possible. Um, Pausing between tasks, actually being present for tasks so that each task becomes its own pause. its own opportunity for presence. But I think we rush through everything. And we've spoken before in the past year about, this whole idea of like getting to the next thing on the list. But in this case, there's just something that's even more profound, I think, that intentionally pausing. You know, we can be present in our tasks, which we need to be. And I'm a huge, like, the true, experience of mindfulness um, is really just that. Can I be present during everyday tasks? But, like, do we take the opportunity at some point during our day to intentionally pause? And I'm not talking about when you're sleeping, even though that is a pause, or when you're sick, because that's also a pause, which is, yes, an opportunity. But when we feel well, do we take that opportunity to pause?
Yeah, that's very true because as when we were researching in for the conversation today, or there is there is as a I know the article that we're saying that Tara Brock, I think, was talking about the sacred pause of really it's yeah, that sense of awareness and taking that time. Um, right now, I feel like I'm in a space where I can take a little bit of a pause. I've been mindfully choosing to pause over this holiday season at moments, so that I wasn't caught up in the busyness of the busyness, which the holidays definitely can bring. But really just mindfully taking that time for myself. I'm not good at it. I will readily admit that I always think I should be doing this. Maybe I should be doing this. Oh, what about this? But I tried to quiet that voice in my head over the holidays a little bit and just really be present in the moment as and experiencing all that there was to experience in the present moment rather than rushing on to the next thing because that's in a deadline oriented field that I'm in for sure. Often we can get caught up in that process of just rushing off to the next thing or stopping one thing to do another because that's often what the deadlines require. But I am mindfully practicing
Mhm.
taking a pause, especially when my body is telling me I need to take a pause.
Love that. And then also, our body is a perfect opportunity to be mindful. I mean, I've done quite a bit of shoveling over the past 2 weeks in frigid, frigid cold weather.
Yes.
And there's something about like shoveling outside in the snow where you are truly present because the cold is piercing you and the wind is like blowing and you're in your body and you are present. And so there's something very almost like it shocks you into it kind of thing. And I think, because you're moving and you're feeling that brisk, cold air. So there's something very jarring in a way, but in a way, very like you're in your body and you are in the experience, which is really what I feel like, those are the opportunities between the pauses where we actually are truly, truly mindful of what we're doing. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I eat it standing up. My mother used to say, because I'll make it talk about loud. My mother used to say, you can't eat standing up. You get fat feet because all the food goes down. So,
I love that. I'm like, okay,
such a mother thing to say too, right?
yes,
Yeah,
yes. Just sit down already.
that's right. Exactly, exactly. You gotta love Judy.
Yes.
So, Seamus, please.
Yeah, I love that last piece there, Jan, because yeah, I'm the youngest of seven in my family. So yeah, I still have the habit of eating very quickly so I can get enough food into my system among seven hungry mouths at the table. So yeah, so I resonate a lot with eating quickly and trying to actually pause and slow down and have do some more mindful eating, I guess, as I've got older. Now that the pressure is off the table to actually get as much food as possible into my little body. But yeah, that brought back that little memory. I just love the topic today as well because it's I think I've had time to pause over the Christmas kind of period, like I think most people do. It's a kind of period for reflection, slowing down. And I just love the poem as well. And again, the one word that's coming up for me wasn't choice. You've mentioned it there a couple of times as well in your reflections. And again, the power of just taking that intentional choice to simply stop and notice and be present. Like all those words you mentioned, like are so powerful. And I've been actually, playing around with them over the last couple of weeks or so, more intentionally, I guess, like something I do in my normal practice, but I've been just trying to, in the last couple of weeks, just really getting more intentional, even on making those deliberate choices. And some we've discussed before, I think, Jan, and in this forum maybe as well, is around the current moment and the power of the current moment to actually just intentionally be with whatever is going on in this current moment as the foundation for how we engage with all future current moments, because that's ultimately what life is, I think. And the better we can engage and make that choice in every current moment, that's something I'm building into and testing in my heart math practice at the moment as well. So it's funny, like today's conversation fits in very, very clearly, very closely with um, a mantra I've kind of been practicing over the last couple of weeks as well. That speaks to the power of just being present for yourself in every moment.
Mhm.
And again, on the in breath, simply stating, and reminding yourself that when I choose to be present for myself, and then on the out breath, I become fully present for everyone and everything. And it kind of makes it real. It bridges, I think, from and allows you to experience, okay, yeah, this is the power of this practice. And it's back to that intentional choice to be present in the moment with whatever is going on, and you'll be present with the breath. We talked before about the bridge, the breath as a bridge. And I think this is a practical application of that to try and just focus all your attention on the breath as a means to be fully present with yourself. And then on the out breath, to be fully present with everything that's going on around you. And sometimes we habitually kind of are so focused, as you described earlier, like Mary Jane yourself, around doing and acting, and there's so much we have to do. But the power of this practice of being present and being still and deliberately choosing to simply be present for yourself, and then know that that permeates outwards. Actually, the better you can do that in every current moment, the better you're prepared actually to engage with maybe challenging situations, busy tasks, and whatever is going on, and maybe relationships with other people, that you simply can engage with those in a very, very different way from the power of presence with yourself that permeates and opens up a whole new way of engaging with all the other tasks that you typically force yourself to engage with, rather than allowing yourself and your way of being present with self to serve you in how you can be present with every action, every activity, every kind of piece of the outside world that's we're undeniably, I think, a part of as well. So again, I think it ties in so beautifully with today's kind of topic of the power of just simply intentionally choosing to be present for yourself, and then just experience how that pays back almost immediately in terms of being present with everything and everyone around you as well.
Love that, Seamus. And one of the things you were sharing really, I was thinking about within myself is my tendencies or my habits. And they do become habits. Like one of my habits is like if I'm uncomfortable and I don't really want to think about or feel whatever I'm feeling, I busy myself because then I don't need to feel. But that also perpetuates this constant cycle of being busy because throughout the day, there's always opportunities where stuff comes up, which you're like, okay, well, I'll feel that later, or I'll look at that later, or I don't really want to pay attention to that. And it's a really great way to stay, is to stay busy. But then that busyness becomes its own cycle where you sort of get so used to being busy, you don't know what it's like to slow down. And so it almost is like this revolving thing that keeps on happening unless you actually stop and say, okay, like enough, and Pima Chodron does a lot of work on this. I've been a huge, I don't want to say fan of her work for many, many years. Um, and she talks about the challenge and the instinct to flee any discomfort. Um, and that is, we sit there and instead of that, we should do this radical practice of staying present with fear, anger, and uncertainty. Because when we do that, those emotions soften and they reveal wisdom. And her wonderful quote, nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to learn and to know. And I think we all realize that, but yet we tend to avoid so much. But yet, if we stay, it teaches us what we need to know, and then it moves away. It softens. Maybe it's there, but it's not as loud. Because if you ever notice, if you tend to ignore something, it's like anything, right? If you ignore the body, all of a sudden the pain gets worse, the physical body. Well, challenging things are no different. If you ignore them, it gets louder and louder in your head. It's like, pay attention to me.
I'm laughing to myself as I pay attention to me. It's like it's like it I was thinking maybe because I spent uh um a few days around children. So but adults can be just the same. It's like, hey, pay attention to me. Like it's like, that that the kid that's like tugging at your shirt or your pant leg or something, going, hello, I'm here. So it's just that you brought that visual into my mind. I'm like, okay, well, it's like, but yeah, I mean, adults can be just the same. They may not be pulling at your pant leg, but they can certainly poke at you a number of times. It's like, hello, I'm still here. Did you notice? Hi.
That's right. And no, absolutely. I didn't go anywhere.
Yes, exactly. But yeah,
You know,
it's
but
true
it's
though.
the Yeah, and I was just thinking because it made me laugh because I think it's so interesting that we think it will, right? So we keep on doing it over again. We're like, if we distract ourselves, we won't remember that thing that's bothering us. And yet it still happens over and over and over again until like what Seamus is being, until we learn. And then there are points when whatever challenging emotion is like, we're not ready. We have to go through a process of acceptance and allowing and not fighting whatever's happening. But
I'm laughing because you made me think of that thing. This is like, what's the that joke about what the definition of insanity is?
yes.
People doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Yeah, guilty of that for sure.
Yep, all of us probably at some point or another, is that feeling of like, okay, well, if I ignore it, and pretend it's not there, it just goes away. Never.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. But that's I did love when in the research we were doing with Krista Tipper was talking about that hope being a muscle and not a rather than an emotion, or hope as a discipline rather than an emotion. I really you know I liked that because you know I don't know, it just seems hope can be just very uh you know I don't know, so it can feel very stationary sometimes.
Hmm.
So it's just like I know we talked about this in one of the previous conversations about, what what's about what hope is. And so I loved the quote, "Hope is not a feeling, it's a practice." I thought that was it's very true. And I guess I keep practicing because I keep hoping.
Yeah, right, that's right. No, but I agree with you because I think it is an action. I think that you can, I mean, yes, you can think of hope as a passive thing, but it really, you have to actively hope. You have to put in an effort. Um, and so I do like that. It's not a feeling, it's a practice.
Just like anything in life, right?
Well,
It's all just a practice.
yeah. And that's why I always think that it's interesting because it's a constant sort of it's a constant way of learning and evolving. So I think of it as a practice. Like we don't say, I mean, that's why yoga or meditation, people refer to it as a meditation practice.
Mm. Yeah,
I
that
think
makes
there's a reason for those words.
yes. Yes, it's not just the use of a specific word, it is the meaning of the specific word as to why it's applied there. I like how Al was sharing in the chat about hope equals helping other people every day. He's giving us a bonus acronym.
Thank goodness I missed it. We missed a week.
Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness. But
You talked about effort there as well. Like I think this is something we touched on before as well in this community here. It's around like effortful. Like maybe it takes some effort to create that space to make a choice to be simply present. Maybe that just takes a little bit of effort, but it pays back in terms of effortlessness of the reward that emerges out of that initial effort. So I think that there's effort required, but the payback, I think, when we make that effort, when it's not too effortful, let's say, so it requires
Mhm.
some small amount of effort to be able to actually just have the discipline to actually, you know what, I'm now going to make an in this moment, make a not a highly effortful, but I'm going to make a deliberate choice to be still. And there's some effort in that, but I think then it translates very quickly. And I think that's part of the experience is when you make the choice and commit to that choice and simply be still, even for a couple of seconds, um, that creates the foundation, I think, for being able to actually experience then the effortlessness of the reward that emerges out of that initial, what seems like, a fairly deliberate effort. So I think with practice, and it's kind of like the gym reps to build, your physical muscle. Once we make repeated small efforts to just be still, and then we experience the powerful and like the effortless benefit or reward that comes out of that work that emerges basically from inside ourselves. That's what keeps us coming back. Then I think that it's less of an effort and becomes an automatic process. If you talk about hope and process, I think that's maybe the transition point from, these and what seems initially like driving a car, very clunky, very awkward. Once you begin to experience the effortlessness of the reward that emerges out of that initial effort, I think what may have taken some level of discipline to create the space to be still becomes part of your everyday process, I think. And that leads to the experience of it becoming itself effortless in nature, and you begin to experience just the reward of what seems like such a simple process, but it does pay back in spades, I think, once you commit to that process of simply being still, and then just experiencing the power of that process in terms of connection to self, connection to others, and how we show up for ourselves and how we show up for others as well, kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's a lovely reminder, today's conversation, Breed often talked about this, Jan, about the simplicity. It's there for every one of us, but it's not so easy to kind of allow to emerge because we're, distracted and so busy with the doing and the activities of everyday life that we forget sometimes the power of this as a process. But, when we create that space, like in forums like this, we get a chance to kind of test that process. And, we'll probably each of us find our way through experiencing, our, how quickly it delivers for us, or maybe it won't. And I think that's part of, the invitation to everyone is to, simply create that space, and then whatever happens, happens, and just be at peace with that, as Tara Brach would often speak to as well, around just the space is so powerful. And then what you experience in that space is what you experience. And I think each of us, that's where, the unique perspective of this work emerges from. It's just that each of us will then have the opportunity to be able to actually experience whatever we experience. No one else can, experience what I experience or anyone else experiences. It's there as something for us to just simply be with, experience, and then to savor, and maybe just to build a foundation of whatever emerges.
Beautiful, Seamus. I agree. I think that it does have its immediate rewards. I mean, at least it does for me. And it is the experience, I think, which keeps me coming back, that keeps me returning. And yeah, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine on Wednesday, and we were saying how we forget. It's kind of like you start to coast, you know, and maybe you miss a day or 2 days, or you get busy and you start to coast. And then all of a sudden, something happens, and even a few days of something happening, and you're like, and then all of a sudden, you're like, why am I not practicing? Like, why am I not doing this? And it's so funny how, and I think that that's why life happens in a way, as a reminder, to practice, but we get comfortable and things are going well and life is, kind of thing. And, we're like, "Oh, okay, everything's fine." And, that's when we feel like we don't need to practice because everything is fine. And, we're handling things as what we perceive as being well, in quote marks, or, we're doing a good job. And then all of a sudden we're like, things don't go well. And then you kind of get shocked again, shocked into that feeling of like, oh my gosh, like, why did I stop? And, and it keeps on happening. It's like, it's like I was talking to her, and it wasn't about anything like this. It was about, taking a vitamin. And she said she had run out. And then all of a sudden she was like, why didn't I order that again? Like, why did I stop? But it's like we forget. And especially when life is not, we're going through a period where we don't have many challenges. Very easy to forget. We get comfortable. Like I said, we coast. And
I
then we don't
And I
really,
think it's
yeah.
yeah, and I think it's back to attunement and balance, like Jan. You know what I mean? I think that's the power of what Susan David talks about is just this, the power of noticing, like, and attuned. And Tara Brach, I think, some fantastic kind of thinkers around, simply being with whatever is emerging, like, and just being so attuned that, we have a heart that's prepared for everything, for anything. That again, that continuously comes back to me. That podcast, I can't remember. I think it was one of the podcasts you shared with me, but that just so is so powerful in terms of what we're speaking about today, in terms of the attunement and operating from a foundation in which you're so present and so connected and attuned and prepared through for what's going on with inside you, that nothing will rattle you, basically, and you're prepared for anything from the space of just that attuned connection or presence to self that permeates out to an attuned presence and connection to everyone else. So it kind of acts as a real soothing mechanism, because when you're calm and collected and attuned to what's going on within yourself, it's amazing how that permeates out to actually, invite others, like getting that true ripple effect of influencing others in a way that helps them to engage better with whatever's going on within themselves and in their external environment too. So that's another example of the immediate payback of this work for personal benefit, but how it permeates into kind of instant benefit for those around us as well, because we're engaging differently and inviting them to engage in differently as well through this process.
Yeah, one of the things, and I know Mary Jane just came off, so I want to hear what she has to say. One of the things that when you were talking, Seamus, I think you could navigate life with a different awareness. That's the word that keeps on coming to mind. Whether you practice or not, you start to live your life with this awareness of how of what's going on within yourself, of the different, like, you know, reactions you have, what are the circumstances of how, surrounding those, and you start to navigate the world in a different way. And it's a less reactive, less unconscious way. And so it's the ability to be aware when, let's say, you feel like you didn't handle something properly and being able to take responsibility for that. It's the ability to, it's like really like to own up and say, oh, okay, well, I didn't say that nicely. I'm really sorry. And it's to be I think you navigate the world with a different kind of awareness and appreciation for the world. Because I think the other thing that being pausing has the ability to do is make you appreciate. Like there's an opportunity to, we've talked about this, appreciate and to savor and to treasure what you do have. So I think that that comes along with it. So I think that there's just a different awareness. Even within the bad things, you see the good things. Even if things are really terrible and you have a bad part of your life, you notice the blessings that are also there at the same time. Before we go to Al, Mary Jane, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just sort of contemplating what you had said, and then Seamus, and so it was just I love I think because I like the idea of the um active sort of participation. And I guess that's why that thing about hope being it wasn't just an emotion, it was a practice. So I just really loved that idea about, and I know we've spoke to it here before as well, as like participating in life, whether that's in participating in life can also mean pausing. It doesn't mean that you're just sitting there doing nothing necessarily. It could, I suppose, but it's just really about sitting there and reflecting. And it's about participating rather than controlling, because that's the thing that we, as human beings, love to do, is to feel like we're in control of things. So I love the idea of participation or practicing or whatever, where it feels in positive action, positive movement, even in pause, rather than the control aspect. So that was just sort of the reflection that I had was while listening to the different things, is this being aware of that and being open, I guess, to allow that inner spaciousness to come into your awareness, because for that's for me often that's where new possibilities or new ideas really do emerge or come through. So I was just thinking of those things as you guys were reflecting on the various aspects. So love that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Yeah, because I think that's where the possibilities are. That's where, if you feel like you have a really, if you're in some sort of time where you need to make a decision, that's where the solution comes. When we're too distracted, we're too busy to see the solution or to be aware of the solution.
Yeah, sometimes there's so much noise happening
Hmm.
around, that it's really hard to hear the answers that may be presenting themselves. So it's very true.
Absolutely.
The pause is definitely an important part of our inner knowing, really.
So Al, please.
Yeah, it's so important. the pause needs to be in part of our lives. Yeah. Otherwise, there's too many bustling and hustling around in our lives every day. Things are coming up. We have to fight the fire, fight the against the clock, meet deadlines and all that. So basically, what's so important that in our participation, when the topic of this week is called uplift, so we have to uplift each and every one's our own moods. For example, if you're going to a concert, we have to light ourselves, in a cool mood, just to listen to the musical that's been playing and all that. So it's like participating in the concert, like what Mary Jane was saying, and we just have to enjoy the moment at the time when we are uplifting our own spirits. Because uplifting is so important. That is on an incremental basis. It's raise, elevate, and improve someone's spirit. So it's uplifting. So this is when in our day of dealing with a school of hard knocks, every day up and down, we have a roller coaster in our lives. We still need to uplift each other's spiritual moments. That the word uplift itself is an acronym for me this week. It's a universally positioning love inwards, fulfilling time. So it's so important that we have to position our love within ourselves, so that it's like self-love and self-awareness within ourselves. And time will only tell, even if we are facing a challenge and all that, time will heal by itself. So this is what I will share this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. As always, please put it in the chat, the acronym. I mean, yeah, I think no matter what we do, we talk about this a lot. I mean, I think there are opportunities to feel uplifted in the small moments, no matter who you are, you know, it's in the laughter that, we started out with, right? The humor that we find in everyday situations. Uh, you know, it's engaging with other people. It's being present for what we're actually doing. And I think about the small things that I do every day. Am I present for them? Can I be present for them? How it changes when I am present. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
shift in some way when I'm actually present and I do something.
Well, Jen, you are a very good person for holding presents for people. I can
Oh,
I can attest to that.
thank you. Thank you. No, but I mean, I think that's really, what it's about. Can we do it for, I mean, yes, can we do it for others? Absolutely. And that's, one of the things I love. But can we do it for ourselves? I think
Yeah.
sometimes, this whole thing is, a lot of our work is within. Like we have to, David White's, the poet's wonderful thing is that we have to start close in.
Yes.
We have to
But I think the
start.
trick is, John, like when you do it for yourself, like that's where the initial effort is, and the effortless payback is that it delivers effortlessly when you successfully, manage to be as close to present and experience what it feels like to create that space within yourself. The rest just happens out of that effort, effortlessly. And I think that's the power of this practice, basically, is that when you are genuinely experiencing something emerging out of simply creating that space to be present for yourself, your work is done because then the effortless rewards in how you're showing for others, it is truly effortless out of that initial deliberate intentional focus to be simply present and experience what it feels like to be present for yourself. Once you experience that, the rest takes care of itself.
I agree. I think it does. I think once you do that, there is that shift, which is then ripples out in your interactions, in the way you navigate the world, in everything. you show up differently. And even if you don't even know that you appear differently to people, you do. Like there is a presence that happens whether you intend it to or not. It just it becomes who you are.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely becomes who you are. I love that that reflection, Jen. Is this so whether it's true because sometimes it's interesting sometimes when people reflect back. I can, from my own experience, when people reflect back something to me about how I've impacted them, even if it was just by being present. Um, it's just it always comes as a surprise almost to me. Like, oh. But then, it's a good reminder though when people call my attention to things like that because it reminds me to also be present for myself, and just really taking that time, the time that I need because I'm as deserving as anyone else, I suppose, of having um, that time and space for myself.
Absolutely. And I'm laughing because people always say, oh, yeah, you always come in and you're so like, online, for class or whatever. You're always so calm. And I'm like, you have no idea. Like, you have no idea. So, but, yeah. And it's like the reminder that's on my phone for the Mind Jogger reminder that's on my phone is you as much as anybody else deserve your love and kindness, the Dalai Lama.
Amen to
And
that.
amen, and so that reminds me sporadically throughout the day. It's like, don't forget,
Yeah.
you as much as anybody else.
Yep,
Because I think
exactly.
I love the idea of uplifting others. Obviously, we all do. We're all here and service to others. But I think we can get caught up in extending ourselves further, I don't know, trying to comfort ourselves or to feel needed or to do for others, thinking that is going to fill a void that we might have. Um, Whether it's the fact that we feel guilty that we have something and somebody else doesn't, or, um, for whatever need, I think it ends up being something that, and when it comes from a place of where you've served yourself, then there is a different energy. It's like you're doing it out of pure service and interconnectedness, that we're all connected, versus doing it because you want to prove something or show something, or, you are lovable, or you're kind or whatever. It becomes much more genuine and much more revealing of that sort of connection that, as Thich Nhat Hanh likes to refer it to, that interbeing, the fact that everything is connected.
Yeah, yeah, that's it's true. Everything is connected. I love what Rosemary shared in the chat. She said that she believes, which I do too, we're all here to help and uplift others. But really, and she says, but how can we actually do that if we don't know how to uplift or reach into our own heart needs? And that right there speaks to the sacredness of the pause and being to take that time and to reflect that. I think it was in the article, I think with Brene Brown, was about the power of vulnerability,
Hmm.
right? And realizing that vulnerability is not a weakness. It's the most accurate measure of our courage. And sometimes we need to find that courage. Sometimes when things might be challenging, or there may be times, and that's even more why the courage of connection to others and a sense of belonging and reconnecting to inner child or inner creativity, whatever that looks like for the individual, of course. But it's just, I loved how she was reflecting that being aware. of our fears and imperfections allows us to really live a life a more authentic and in service to others. So thank you, Rosemary, for bringing that 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 point to light.
And I mean, to that connection is to like, it reminds me of something that Pema Chodron says, that this work, these pauses, this like reflection, the awareness emphasizes courage, compassion, and gentleness as a spiritual strength. That those are spiritual strengths, you know, to not run away, to listen to the wisdom that they offer. And that's the courage, the compassion, and the gentleness. And those are spiritual strengths. I don't know that we recognize them as spiritual strengths. I think we think of a lot of other things maybe as spiritual strengths, but those are the truths, is to hold ourselves with compassion and gentleness, to be courageous enough to stay and not escape and not distract. Those are true spiritual strengths.
Absolutely. And that's absolutely true. And I love the way this conversation has brought so many smiles and such a warm feeling of connection to everyone here today. And thank you for taking this pause with us.
Absolutely. Should we move into the meditation?
I think that would be an absolutely perfect example of this taking a sacred pause, right?
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. So once again, settle into this moment. Allow yourself to find a comfortable position, whether you're seated, standing, supported, or grounded. Gently close your eyes if that feels safe, or lower your gaze. Take a few deep breaths, noticing the movement of your body with each inhale and exhale. As you breathe, allow yourself to pause, to arrive, and to bring your full attention to the present moment. This pause is not about doing anything or changing anything. It's simply about being here fully with what is. Bring your attention gently to your body, not to judge, not to change, but simply to notice how it is right now. Feel the points where your body is supported, makes contact with the floor, with the chair, or whatever you are resting on. Notice the sensations of sitting, standing, leaning, subtle shifts, textures, or contact with the surface or the space around you. Allow your awareness to soften into your posture, noticing areas of ease or tension. Let them arise without trying to alter them, to change them. Observe your body as it is, simply holding you, carrying you through this moment. With each breath, allow a sense of curiosity and kindness to settle in. You might notice warmth, coolness, heaviness, lightness. All of it is simply part of being here, alive, and present. As you rest in this awareness, feel yourself anchored in the present moment, aware, supported, and gently connected to yourself. Now bring your attention to your breath. Notice the rise and fall of your chest, or the subtle flow of air through the nostrils. If your mind begins to wander, notice the thought, the feeling, or the story, and then gently return to your breath. Each inhale brings awareness. Each exhale offers release. This simple rhythm of noticing, pausing, and returning is the foundation. An act of honoring what is without needing to fix it. As you continue to breathe, allow yourself to expand your awareness to what is happening in this moment. Notice any emotions, sensations, or thoughts without trying to change them. Acknowledge them with curiosity and gentleness. Now invite a sense of possibility, not a forced hope, but a quiet awareness that new perspectives, ideas, or opportunities can emerge from simply being present. Imagine holding yourself with the same compassion you would offer a dear friend. And as you do, notice how this awareness opens space for insight, for understanding, for imagination, for creativity. Take a moment to set an intention for your day ahead. It might be as simple as I will notice when I am rushing and pause. I will respond with awareness rather than reaction. I will invite curiosity and imagination into my moments. Feel your mind and body integrate this intention. Notice how even a small pause and mindful attention can ripple outward, creating openness and presence. Begin to bring your awareness back to your body, your seat, and the room around you. Feel free to wiggle fingers, toes, gently move. And when you're ready, let your eyes float open or lift your gaze and carry this sense of pause, presence, and mindful awareness with you as you move through the rest of your day. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Please take a moment to connect with us during the week. We would love to hear from you. This recording will be like our others on our YouTube channel. And so if you feel so inclined, feel free to share it. Just also like the page, follow it, and subscribe if that, resonates with you. We're planning our next workshops, so, look out for information. We're doing another 4-part series with Darlene starting in February 11th for 4 Wednesdays. So that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a survey that we would love for you to complete to sort of give us any guidance or any thoughts you have on programming, or anything you'd like to hear about. Happy New Year. have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful day. And let's everybody have a year filled with easeful learning, hope, health, abundance, um, friendship, love, connection, and anything else you can add in.
Absolutely. And just before we head out, yes, thank you, Jan, for that beautiful meditation. That was lovely and peaceful. I feel very calm to start my day, of course. But I wanted to share just a really short poem, if I
Thank you. I
can.
forgot about the last poem.
It's all good. It's as it's meant to be. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
But it's just a nice way to reflect as we head out, I think, today, anyways. And it's a poem called Influence, and it's by Joseph Norris. And it reads, drop a pebble in the water, and its ripples reach out far, and the sunbeams dancing on them may reflect them to a star. Give a smile to someone passing, thereby making his morning glad. It may greet you in the evening when your own heart may be sad. Do a deed of simple kindness, though its end you may not see. It may reach like widening ripples down a long eternity. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Have a blessed weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.